What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily Channel with me, Mike Zakarian, now coming to you live from the land of Ireland, which was a terrible and probably offensive impression. That vacation rolls on, only a couple days left before we're back stateside, but we needed to, just connect with our Celtic energy here, okay? So if I'm in Ireland, we're doing a Celtics Daily video. If it's your first time here, hey, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, all right? We're at 1,900 subscribers. We were like less than 80 away from hitting that 2K number. We need to hit the 2K number, okay? Come on, let's do it. You and me together. We're all in this together. Shout out High School Musical and shout out Luca Garza. So I've been thinking a lot about the Celtics front court rotation here. As you know, there's been a lot of dialogue, mostly coming from me, about how bad it is. Saw a lot of people in the chat yesterday saying we need to put a little bit more respect on Xavier Tillman's name. Also saw somebody making a case that the Celtics have a good front court. Listen, I am a Celtics fan. I am pro-green, all right? I don't think I can go as far to say we have a good front court, but did want to talk a little bit about Luca Garza because I do think he is an interesting, piece for this season. We know we have Nemias Queta, the Portuguese prince that was promised. Shout out Harry Potter. Actually, that's not a Harry. That's not a Harry Potter. I don't know why I said shout out Harry Potter. But Keita is going to be the starting center. He's going to get the first crack at it. We know he's coming off a knee surgery, but he will get the first crack at it. We know Xavier Tillman, what he can do. Hopefully, a bounce back season for him. But Luka Garza is kind of like the X factor, even though we have Xavier, but he is the X factor here, and he hasn't really had a ton of time to shine. But I do think the Celtics are interested in how he can develop as a 3-point shooter and maybe stretch the floor. We know with the losses of Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford, and the way that I said that made it sound like they passed away. They didn't. But with the losses of those two guys, those are our fives that could also shoot the three ball. Luke Cornett would come in there. Even though he was a 3-point shooter when he was with the New York Knicks, did not chuck many threes for the Boston Celtics. So the stretch fives both are gone now. So Luka Garza is the opportunity to get somebody like that because Amari Williams, who we'll talk about a little later, Xavier Tillman, not really known as 3-point shooters. But let's look at some of like what Luka Garza has done in the past, right? So he's played a total of 124 games in his career, playing 39 last season. So clearly he hasn't gotten a ton of opportunity. His rookie year, right? He played with the Detroit Pistons. Shout out Detroit basketball. He played 32 games that year, averaging under 6 points, under 2 rebounds. Under 3 rebounds, under half assists, barely any steals, barely any blocks, shooting 32% from 3. Second year, only played 28 games, but this time with the Minnesota Timberwolves, averaged just over 6 points. Still not really shooting the 3 ball great, but a little bit better, 36%. We will take that. Excuse me, that was his 2-point percentage. His 3-point percentage was not that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I got that right. It was 36%. Then the second year with Minnesota, averaged under 4 points per game at 28% from 3. And then last season, again, 28% from 3. Playing 39 games, but again, only averaging like 5.6 minutes per game. So Luka Garza has basically been a garbage time guy, right? He hasn't had the opportunity to get out there. Like, again, with the Timberwolves playing less than like 4 or 5 minutes a game, that's not really getting a feel for what he can do. However, we've seen in like small snippets that he can shoot the 3 ball. And if he's able to, with a little bit more volume and a little bit more minutes, be able to get those numbers up, it could be an opportunity for him to thrive in this Joe Mazzulla style offense when, they want to stretch the floor. They want to be able to slash and cut. The only way that you can really do that is if you have 3-point shooters that can punish the defense for collapsing when there's a blow by, right? So when Jaylen Brown gets the ball moving, gets rolling downhill, the help defense has to collapse a little bit. He swings it to a corner, who then swings it around again. And then you need a guy like Luka Garza who can knock down the 3. But this is like a bit like we are expecting and asking someone who's played less than 5 minutes a game to all of a sudden do a lot of heavy lifting. So, and yes, if you want to be glass half full, he has shown some of the ability to be an offensive threat. He can go, if you're a fantasy guy, right? He could be a fantasy point per minute smasher. One of like a streaming big man. Go get yourself some Luka Garza. But as a team that, like, again, there's been a lot of dialogue. Are the Celtics going to be trying to win games or are they tanking? And the development of these guys who have been pretty much unproven as NBA players is going to decide what direction this goes. So it's up to guys like Luka Garza. It's up to young guys like Hugo Gonzalez and Jordan Walsh and Baylor Shireman. are these types of players who, again, unproven, are they going to be able to step up and play like real NBA minutes in impact winning? Because, yes, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Anthony Simons, they are all going to get theirs. But you need more than that. Rick Carlisle did an interview with Caitlin Cooper not too long ago where he talked about the shift in the NBA, right? For the last like 20 years almost, it's been Canada's big threes, these super teams, gel as a unit, get a little bit of help from some vet minimum guys like a Udonis Haslem or a James Posey, like are those types of guys, and then win a title. You can't do that anymore because of how deep the NBA is. And as Carlisle was saying, and the Indiana Pacers, who again came up short in the finals, but made it to the finals, are an exact team like that, right? They have Tyrese Halliburton, fringe all NBA guy, one of the top point guards in the league. You had Pascal Siakam, who again, fringe like third team all NBA. You won an NBA title, All Star, right? Pascal Siakam. But then after that, it's just like a bunch of guys that are pretty good. It's your Andrew Nempards, your Miles Turners, your Benedict Mathurin, Obi Toppin, guys like that, right? You see with the Knicks too, you have your Brunson and your Cat, but then it's like Bridges, OG. It's a lot of role players, right? So the Celtics are going to need. You're going to have to be like 7 deep. You know, the LeBron, Wade, Bosch era, the KG, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce era of the big threes are done. You need to have deep teams. So you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? With Shea, with Chet, with J-Dub. And then they've just got boatloads of dudes and Wallace and Caruso and Dort and Hartenstein. And so, yes, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, to a lesser extent, Peyton Pritchard and Anthony Simons, they're going to cook. But we need more guys. So again, your Luka Garzas, your Baylor Shiremans, the rookies are going to have to do some stuff. So it is for them as individual players, huge opportunity. Luka Garza has never had this opportunity in his short NBA career, whether it was with the Pistons or the Timberwolves, to play meaningful minutes. And he is going to be thrown into the fire by town lover Joe Mazzulla right out the gate. And again, I don't think he's going to start, but he's going to play meaningful minutes because it's going to be big man by committee. And if they're trying to stretch the floor, he's the only one that's able to do it. And one of the things that came up yesterday in the comments in yesterday's video, and this is kind of I digress a little bit, but we're talking about Jason Tatum, and I forget who said it, but they were like, you can't just throw, like, talking about how like Tatum coming back does not really change how many games the Celtics would win. I think he used the number 20. Like Tatum being on the Tatum playing this season wouldn't ultimately give the Celtics 20 plus more wins. And I almost like 20 is a big number, but I almost disagree because with Tatum, one of the things that I think we're going to miss that people aren't talking about is just his ability to rebound. Tatum was an elite rebounder last season, basically a double-double machine. I think he averaged over 9 boards a game. I don't have that in front of me, so feel free to yell at me in the comments if I'm wrong. But it was one of our best rebounders, especially with KP missing time, Al resting on back-to-backs. He was our consistent board getter. And so now you take away the 2 starting big men that we had, plus Jason Tatum, our leading rebounder, and all of a sudden, like, you don't have anybody out there to get them boards. So I do think Tatum being on the Celtics this season, maybe 20 is too many because you're going from winning 38 games to 58 games. But if Tatum was on this roster, they're winning 50 plus games this season. Without a doubt, especially in the Eastern Conference. I think if Tatum was healthy, like, yes, they were downshifting a little bit, losing Drew, KP, and Al, and Luke Cornett, but they'd still be like top 3 in the Eastern Conference. I'd still be picking them over Orlando and Atlanta. Cleveland and New York is a different story, but I do think that does make a huge difference. Anyway, we've talked too long on this segment, but that's because it's August and there's not a ton to talk about. Anthony Simons, let's get to Simons because there was a lot of chatter yesterday in the chit chat about Simons in a trade, and I thought somebody made an interesting point. Like, do you try to take Simons and some other younger guys, package that together and go out and get a big man? And the name from the Los Angeles Clippers that keeps getting thrown around is Ivica Zubac, the big man for the Clips. And listen, my last name is Zakarian, so I'm going to root for anybody that has the last name Z. You know, we're sitting in the back of the classroom from kindergarten to high school when assigned seatings, you know, back left or back right corner, depending on how the teacher wanted to play it out. But like, the Clippers also like Ivica Zubac, so I don't think they would be interested in making a trade like that unless, you know, somebody like Kawhi or James Harden or Bradley Beal. Like, if the team would have to completely flame out for them to do something like that. But I like where your head's at with that. Where, again, I know there's a lot of Simons fans in the chat. I respect you. I appreciate you. But the Celtics right now, still over the first apron, still in the luxury tax. And if they get out of the tax, they're not going to be in the repeater tax, which means they're not going to get hammered next season. And it makes the team a lot cheaper, right? And so Simons is the most likely candidate to go. Also, Sam Hauser is going to be up there, but they're like so close to getting under both of those things. So they're clearly going to make one other move. But I think the issue with Simons and his trade value is that his contract is up this year. It's an expiring contract. So a team that's going to take him on, there's a couple of different scenarios. One, a team that's like, hey, we just want clean money, right? We want money off the books next season. So if a team like, say the Brooklyn Nets were like, okay, we'll take the $30 million, we'll give you Nick Claxton, and then we've just like taken $30 million off the board. That's interesting. That is interesting because I do think Brooklyn could be into that. The Celtics, I know there's not a lot of Nick Claxton fans, and I get it because he's been playing in like no man's land in Brooklyn for the last couple of seasons, but I do think a rim running guy who can protect the rim on the defensive end too is kind of what the Celtics need. He's under contract for the next couple of years. It's a declining contract, so it's not as expensive. I think that's kind of interesting. But anyways, a team that is trying to clear their books a little bit would take on Simons. And then another option is a team that is like in the playoff hunt and is like, hey, all we need is like another playmaking guard off bench who can also knock down the three ball. That would be another type of situation. But I think in a lot of these, moments, if a competitive team is trying to trade for Simons, they're not going to give up guys that are impacting their team's winning potential now, right? Because they're still trying to win. So the only situation that you're going to get a meaningful player that can win now is going to be from one of those teams trying to clear the books, like the Brooklyn Nets, maybe the Utah Jazz, something like that. So I don't have a ton of trade options in front of me now, as I was just kind of thinking about this morning, but I do think Nick Claxton and Brooklyn Nets is something you could pay attention to. But I ultimately think what the Celtics are going to do is keep Simons around for the first half of this season, kind of see how the team evolves, see what happens. Are they going to surprise some people as underdogs, or do they get off to a really slow start and then they're like a peanut salesman at Fenway Park, just being like, Simons for sale, right? Are they going to be doing that? So something to keep in mind as we head into the season. But let's speaking of young guys, Amari Williams, right? We were a little bit nervous here when the Celtics made that trade and they brought RJ Lewis Jr. over here. For who was that for? I don't even. Oh, Georges Niang, right? I was like, hey, they don't have any two-way spots left. Is Amari Williams even going to make the team? Well, Amari and wow, I'm looking at a typo right now. I said that like a Bostonian. Amari and Hapa, Ron Harper Jr. Both of those guys have officially been invited to camp this summer. So that's a good sign because I actually kind of liked what we got from Amari Williams. He, in an interview during Summer League, said how do we phrase this? How did he phrase it? He said he modeled his game after Nikola Jokic, which like awesome, dude. Yeah, like I love the idea of being like, yeah, I'm the next Jokic, baby. I know that's not what he was saying, but it's pretty funny. But what he means by that is you could like play through him a little bit. Obviously, he doesn't have like the three ball like Joker or anything like that. But the fact that you can get him to the ball around the paint, pretty good passer. And again, as we just like outlined in our front court with guys like Luka and Tillman and Keita, he's going to have an opportunity probably to get some run, especially if we get off to a slow start. Because if we get off to a slow start, the Celtics have no business trying to win games at that point. And you're going to see some of these younger guys like a Max Sugar, like an Amari Williams, and maybe even potentially a Ron Harper Jr. get a little bit of run. Ron Harper Jr. did some good stuff in the G League last summer. I believe it was the G League. So I don't anticipate him actually making the Celtics roster, but we now have a better feel. There's also, the Ben Simmons sweepstakes, as people like to call it, seems to be quieting down on the Bostonian front. So we don't have to worry about Simmons becoming a Celtic, even though a lot of you sickos were in the chat trying to talk me into rooting for Ben Simmons as a Boston Celtic. God, put the pipe down. No way. No, thank you. Okay. The year is 2025. I'm not going to talk myself into Ben Simmons anymore. Too many times we've been fooled by the tweet off-season workout where he's like in a tank top. Oh my God, is Ben Simmons knocking down a three ball? Is Simmons going to finally shoot this season? No, he's not. He's not. All right. And also, you know what? There, as Trey Kirby from No Dunks pointed out, they're NBA players. They should be able to hit uncontested three-point shots in a gym. Okay. I'm not going to be fooled again. I'm not going to be fooled again. No, thank you, Ben Simmons. Let's get to our last topic here, and then we'll shut it down as I'm going to go find a Guinness as I'm in Ireland. Do me a favor, though, before we get to it. Smash that subscribe if you haven't hit it yet, okay? Get involved in the chat, too. Keep the comments flowing. Makes for good fodder. Appreciate, even if I disagree with your comments, even if your comments are mean, I still enjoy them, so keep them coming. All right, the last thing, and I wish again, because I'm on the move here. I'm on the go. I'm on vacation. I don't have my normal prep where I can just, like, copy, paste a bunch of comments, which I normally do. But yesterday, I went back and forth. Somebody said that the Celtics have the best backcourt in the Eastern Conference. And I can only imagine that the same pipe that was used for the Ben Simmons discourse was also used for that, because good Lord, listen, if you're going to continue, backcourt means point guard and shooting guard, right? If you want to include Jaylen Brown in that, just for the sake of the conversation, fine. But Jaylen Brown's going to be playing the 3 this year. He's going to be playing the small forward. Peyton Pritchard is going to be starting at the point guard, and Derek White's going to be starting at the shooting guard. Now, at first look, I thought this was going to be like true chaos, this take, but it's actually not as bad as I thought it was. But if you are immediately, you're putting both like Pritchard and Derek White over Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. I mean, those are 2 all-stars. Over Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges. Like, listen, I'm not a fan of what Mikal Bridges has done with the Knicks outside of like the series against the Celtics, but come on, man. I mean, Brunson was like right up there with the top 5 MVP candidate this past season. Like, come on. You get to the Sixers, Maxey Edgecombe. I don't know. What's that? I mean, I guess the lean there would still be the Celtics, but Maxey's ceiling like pretty high. Let's go to Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey. You know, like, I don't know, man. Cade Cunningham's pretty freaking good. Maybe that's it though. Trae Young and Dyson Daniels. Dyson Daniels, all NBA, most improved last year. Trae Young, always like a borderline all-star. I mean, those are, and I'm like, these are just off the top. Like, I'm not too deep into the weeds here yet, but the best backcourt in the East. I don't know. That might be wishful thinking. But this is the time to wishful think, you know? It's August. We can dream big. We'll have to recheck this in December, but for right now, dream big. Appreciate everybody tuning in today. As always, probably get like 1 or 2 more videos from the beautiful green land of Ireland, and then we'll be back stateside in the normal get up, the setup, and the go. So hit the subscribe. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and we will see you next time. Go Seas, kid.